What's up, Raging Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching the Raging Nation Show. This is just a web series where we're talking about all things matter to me in the world of movies. Let's talk about Avatar. And Avatar is a film that is going to have lots and lots of sequels. There's going to be 3 sequels, and currently James Cameron is doing pre-production for them, and there will be Avatar 2 in December of 2016, Avatar 3 in December of 2017, and Avatar 4 in December of 2018. That's a lot of time spent on Pandora. The first Avatar film was almost 3 hours long, but it is the most highest grossing film worldwide in the history of films. $2.7 million. And now there's going to be more. And each one of these films is most likely going to be somewhere close to the 3-hour range. So like I said, that's a lot of time spent in Pandora. Now, James Cameron was recently quoted saying some things about how he feels how the Avatar sequels are going to be. And he said that the Avatar sequels are going to make you shit your pants with your mouth wide open, and they're going to be bitchin'. I think he's been spending a little bit too much time with Michael Bay. But anyways, all he's trying to say is that they are going to be awesome. Now, what I really want to talk about with regards to the Avatar sequels is that it looks like Peter Jackson has convinced James Cameron to shoot his sequels at 48 frames per second. Now, if you don't already know, the standard frame rate for films is 23.97 seconds. 23.97 frames per second, which is essentially 24 frames per second. That's the standard that we've seen. Now, the first time we've ever seen any film shot in a different frame rate, other than 24 frames per second, is when Peter Jackson introduced 48 frames per second, aka HFR, high frame rate, in the Hobbit films. And that is The Hobbit, A Journey, Unexpected Journey, The Desolation of Smaug, and also the upcoming Battle of the Five Armies. The director's intention, Peter Jackson, or rather Peter Jackson's original vision, is to have it shot and presented in 48 frames per second. Now, why is that? Why does he want to do that? The reason why is because by having more frames, double the frame rate of your standard 24 frames per second, it eliminates the motion blur. And the reason why he wants to eliminate the motion blur when the camera moves around is because that way you can take into 3D a lot better. Because the more frame rates there are, the more information there is to take in, and therefore when the camera moves around, it doesn't lose the 3D effect. Okay, so Peter Jackson was really adamant about giving us a really nice 3D presentation, and by doing that, he decided that his technique will be to eliminate the motion blur by giving us 48 frames per second, and he convinced James Cameron to do that. Originally, James Cameron was actually considering shooting it in 60 frames per second, which is something I think that it would look too weird to me. I just wouldn't be used to it. I wouldn't like it, okay? 48 frames per second I can handle, okay? It'll look a little bit weird, but you know what? If it's going to make the 3D look even better, then I'm down for that. After all, a lot of people are still saying to this date that the best 3D film they've ever seen is Avatar, because a lot of care and a lot of love and a lot of passion was put into the 3D filming rather the capturing of the 3D for the movie. Alright, so that's what's going on with the Avatar sequels. 40 frames per second 3D will be the presentation for the Avatar sequels. Now, moving on, let's talk about something else that is coming out from 20th Century Fox, and that would be Independence Day sequels. Wait a minute, should it be Independence Day sequels or sequel? Now, originally, a long time ago, Roland Emmerich announced that he wanted to do Independence Day sequels. Okay, that would be 2 films shot back-to-back, ID4 2 and ID4 3. Okay, well, Fox has greenlit the ID4 sequel. Roland Emmerich is directing, but they only greenlit 1 sequel. Okay, so I don't know what's going to happen to the 3rd film, or if there's even going to be a 3rd film, but the fact is that ID4 2 has been greenlit. Roland Emmerich is directing, and they're going to start production in May for a 2016 release date. Okay, So this is a pretty standard timeline. I mean, if you want to direct an alien invasion movie, you best start in May. That way you can release it in summer of the following year, just like the Transformers films. But anyways, they're going to make it with or without Will Smith. Most likely without Will Smith because he's just too expensive. And another thing is that, well... Will Smith is just doing his own thing these days, all right? You know, he hasn't been doing a whole lot lately. He's no longer the guy who was, opening on Big Willie Weekend, or, you know, on July 4th. He used to open his movies always on, you know, the Independence Day long weekend, but he's not doing that anymore. He doesn't have a big movie over the summer, so it looks like they're doing it without him. Is Jeff Goldblum going to be back? Who knows? It's still a little bit too early to say, but all you got to know is that Fox greenlit ID4-2, Roland Emmerich is directing. They're going to be starting in May, and it's going to be released in summer of 2016. All right? Now, let's talk about Hunger Games, and, well, there is a sequel coming out next November. That's The Mockingjay Part 2, the final installment, but Francis Lawrence was quoted saying that he wanted to make more Hunger Games films. In fact, he said that there could be more Hunger Games films after Mockingjay takes place. And you know what? If he wants to make more Mockingjay, or rather more Hunger Game films, let him make more Hunger Game films. After all, he is doing a pretty good job with the sequels. But not only that, the Hunger Games universe, this universe that it exists in, it really, you know, it's a really fascinating place. It's a really fascinating setting, okay? The time and the place is very, very fascinating. And I think that you can really expand upon the Hunger Games outside of the trilogy of books. You know what I'm saying? And I think they already did that with Mockingjay. I mean, they took a single book and made 2 movies out of that, which suggests that they've either really just expanded the concepts in the book, or they've taken elements from the book and they've really just gone outside of that. Okay, they took the existing elements, put it in the book, and then they've added more stuff that wasn't in the book. Now, if they can do that, they can do an entire film that takes place in the Hunger Games universe, but perhaps either after the Mockingjay story, or during, or spin it off somehow. But that seems to be the trend nowadays, especially with a lot of these young adult novels which have been adapted into books. For example, Harry Potter. They made the Deathly Hallows into Part 1 and Part 2. The Twilight series, it was Breaking Dawn Part 1 and 2. And they're doing the same thing with Mockingjay. There's Part 1 and 2. Okay? So this is not anything that's out of this world. It's being practiced nowadays because the studios just seem to love milking a good thing. So if they want to bring in more Hunger Games films, especially if it's directed by Francis Lawrence, I'm down with that. I don't know about how everybody else feels, but I'm down with that idea just because I think he's a good storyteller, he's a good director, and also the Hunger Games universe is just, you know, I think it exists more than just in District 12 and all the other districts that we've already seen. I think there's a lot of great characters and a lot of stories that can come out of those characters. And another thing that you got to know is that this is also happening with the Hobbits and Lord of the Rings stories from Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson was actually interested in making more Middle-earth films outside of the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings because he's going to take concepts from the Tolkien appendices. Okay, I mean, keep in mind they already took one book and expanded it into 3 long films. So there's already a lot of information that exists that wasn't even in the book. All right, so that already tells you something. And if they're going to be, if Francis Lawrence said and mentioned that he would like to make more Hunger Games films outside of the Hunger Games films that already exist, outside of the Hunger Games books, I believe him. I believe that it's going to happen. And I think it is going to happen. And I'm pretty sure Lionsgate Studios wants to make it happen, considering that this is their biggest selling franchise for their entire studio. When the Hunger Games films come out, the stocks at Lionsgate comes up, or E1 Films rather. The stocks for E1 Films come up. But when it's just like, you know, smaller films, the stock goes down. Anyways, that's really all I got to say about this video. How do you guys feel about 48 frames per second for Avatar? And also, do you think we need another Independence Day sequel? And if we do get another sequel, how do you feel about the fact that it's not about Captain Stephen Hiller? Will Smith's character? And also, what do you think of more Hunger Games films outside of the books? I'm totally down with that. How about you? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Raging Nation, also follow me on Twitter, @RagingNation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. Yes!